Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.
In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. For those who don't know, that simply means peace be unto you. Man, I hope you all enjoyed your families. I hope you all had a productive week. Because this week we're going to talk about something that I think is important as we go into this next season. One of the worst seasons, in my humble opinion, because I hate cold weather. But we're going into December, January, where we know it gets really cold. It get cold. It be freezing, snow in many areas. So I wanted to talk about going into this month, disaster preparedness. There's many of us who may not have the proper equipment in our homes. We don't know what to do during certain situations. So in the Nation of Islam, we've had workshops on how to prepare and what equipment we do need for the times that may come in our cities. Of course, you may not have the budget to get everything that you see today, but whatever budget you do have, get what you can. Okay, so that it's better to be prepared than to try to call on people and try to do all this stuff afterwards. Especially, I know here in Dallas a few years ago, the stores was empty. Bottles of water and jugs of water, all this type of stuff will be gone. We already know social media, when they tell you, oh, the toilet tissue, they go buy up all the toilet tissue. You know how they did a couple of years ago. So we just want to make sure that we're prepared ahead of time if we have the budget to do so. Okay, so today we're going to be dealing with disaster preparedness. And again, if you're here for your very first time, please make sure you take notes about things that stood out to you, something that you can share at the end that somebody else may have missed. They may have stepped away. They may have gotten a phone call. So please don't hold God back from the group by not allowing him to speak through you if there's something that stood out for you. Okay? All right, let's get right to it.
The Messiah, we now know, who is alive and in power, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and their perfect witness, warner, mercy, and guide for us all and all of humanity, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we thank Allah for everyone on whose shoulders we stand, that we might be here today. It is in their names that I greet you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. What a blessing it is for us to be here, that Allah would design it in such a way that our parents had no idea that they were a part of Allah's plan. And here we are at this very critical hour, those whose lives have been formed to recognize Allah's truth in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So in spite of what we think of ourselves and the circumstances of our lives, here we are. Here we are right after Hurricane Milton. So we right on time. Is Allah showing out in his exalted Christ? They are showing out. At this time, we want to begin with a video that will introduce us to our subject for today. Thank you so much.
More than 100 people are dead from Helene, a number that's still expected to rise. Hundreds more are missing, and roughly 2.1 million customers are without power across the region.
I've been telling you, watch the weather.
More video is coming in of the utter devastation.
This is literally catastrophic.
Every day the weather's getting worse and worse.
Utterly devastating. I mean, the images are unimaginable.
North Carolina is cleaning up from the worst flooding ever on record for the state.
The white meteorologists cannot tell you what the weather's going to be?
Some locals are describing this as biblical devastation.
One emergency official calls it biblical devastation.
He is going to multiply your calamities. There'll be more wind, more unusual rain, violent storms. He has purposely kept it back and is only gradually releasing some of the forces of nature to let you know that the inordinate weather that you are experiencing is because he's present and he's trying to make you to see you don't have any power to stop what he has the power to bring.
And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
The fact that they are raising their air flights, $1,500 just to get out of Tampa.
If I could get out, I would, but where are we going? Everything is booked. There's nowhere to, unless you're hopping on a plane. So even if you do mandatory evacuation, I don't know where am I supposed to go?
Everyone wants to comment, talking about leave, evacuate. You guys don't understand. That's not an option for a lot of people. One, all the surrounding states are full. Not just see what the last storm did. I'd rather not. I'll take my chances in my home. I'll get in my attic if I have to and get up on my roof if I have to. I am mentally preparing myself for that.
They said yesterday, we don't go into areas that the roads are not easily accessible. What? If you have ever set foot in that place, if you hear, we need people off there. If you have ever get here, we need you. We need people experiencing the project. There's only a few ways to these people. It is to a helicopter.
You all better start storing something in your houses. And I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about food that's non-perishable. Because this thing is falling and falling fast. And when your people can't find jobs and can't have money, murder and bloodshed will be all in the streets. You're going to have to learn emergency management. You don't know how to protect your life. You don't know what to do when disaster strikes. If Haiti had been more prepared, lives could have been saved. Your day and mine here is coming.
All right. Looks like it is. Frozen. 1 second. 5:05. All right, there we go.
Thank Allah. We thank Allah for his warner in our midst. Who else is receiving this warning? From where? From whom? How many of us have been told to watch the weather from any other source other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? So we're going to move along. I just want to introduce our panel today. We have our student regional brother minister from the Southwest region of the Nation of Islam. He is student Minister Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad. Let us give him a hand. Praise be to Allah. And to my left, to your right, is Sister Vivian Muhammad out of Indianapolis, Indiana, mosque number 74. And to the right of Brother Student Minister Abdul Halim is our dear brother Rudolph, Muhammad, well, now out of Detroit. Praise be to Allah. I got it like New York by way of Detroit. Okay. And then on the end, Sister Alva Muhammad. So we're going to begin with Brother Student Minister Abdul Halim Muhammad, who's going to talk to us about security, anarchy, and civil war and safety. He's been through Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Harvey, and the last one was Beryl, and we felt it all the way here in Chicago. Actually, I lost a tree, knocked down power lines, but I thank Allah because we had a generator installed 2 weeks prior. So let us receive Brother Student Minister Abdul Halim Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. Forever, thank you for coming and raising up in our midst our divine leader, teacher, and guide, the exalted Christ, the eternal leader, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank them both for not leaving us alone, but leaving in our midst our brother, servant, and friend, the Messiah, my personal savior, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. I greet you once again in green words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Only got 20 minutes, so I won't be long, but I'm going to be strong.
Yes, you are.
Let me go straight, go to the Fall of America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to go right straight to this because I got too many slides. So I'm going to hit it. Now, brothers and sisters, my doctorate is in urban planning and environmental policy. So I'm hardwired to think big picture, long term. So I'm going to paint a frame for you, a very large frame, and my co-panelists trust they're going to connect the dots within the frame, and you will come away from here not only with information, you're going to come away from here with a plan. All right? All right. Praise be to Allah. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The last chapter of Fall of America is the worst, is yet to come. And what you heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan bears witness to this. Now, I want to go to this last paragraph of this. You can take a picture of that if you like. What Honorable Elijah Muhammad says this, and I quote, Goliath, who has defied the nations of the earth to come out and fight with them, as Goliath did before Israel. Now, nations make mock of the great giant of the earth, America. The sword within, the sword without. Trouble seems to have no end, close quote. The sword within, the sword without. It boils down to the unraveling of a great nation, and it boils down to the war of Armageddon has begun. Y'all all right? All right, so let me say this, brothers and sisters, if we're talking about emergency management, and we're talking about sustaining ourselves during these catastrophic events, then I want you to understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has already given us the blueprint. Right. He said to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in that day, brother, in that day, your righteousness will sustain you. All right? Now, what is righteousness? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Message of the Black Man, says, what is Islam? It can be answered in one word, righteousness. Briefly, Islam means entire submission to the will of Allah. So obedience and righteousness go hand in hand. In fact, I would say that they're synonyms as far as we're concerned, meaning that they have the same meaning. And then the Holy Quran says, if you love Allah, follow me. Allah will love you and grant you protection from your sins, and Allah is forgiving and merciful. Say, obey Allah and the messenger, but if they turn back, Allah surely loves not the disbeliever. Now, beloved brothers and sisters, I'm going to go to the framework. The framework is sustainable development. And back in the 80s, they said originally the term sustainable development was a balance between economy, environment, and social equity. It was a triangle. But in a post 9/11, post Hurricane Katrina planning paradigm, now security, meaning against asymmetrical warfare, meaning that there's no longer two armies facing one another. It is people picking soft targets and picking the most weak and vulnerable to attack to achieve political goals, all right? And then there's safety, which is emergency management. Now, these are two separate things that we've added to that, and we created what we call the planner's pyramid. But I want you to think security and safety, because that really is what the Nation of Islam is about. And you cannot have sustainable development without the consideration of a word called resilience. What's that word?
Resilience.
There you go. But before I get to resilience, I want you to know one thing, brothers and sisters. We need to pick up our supreme wisdom again. Because in the supreme wisdom, brothers and sisters, even in the student enrollment, which are the rules of Islam. That means how we govern our affairs. Y'all all right? Student enrollment and actual facts. And all of our lessons contain sciences, brothers and sisters. I'm talking about mathematics and sciences that we need to go back and we need to study, because that is the framework by which we have to operate, which is the mind of Master Fard Muhammad that he gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is operating in on time, in time with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. As you can see in the Supreme Wisdom, go to the Supreme Wisdom for me, please. That one there, keep going. There you go. You're going to find there are words in here. Even I got a PhD, I'm hooked on phonics that I have to sound out. That these kind of sciences are just in the student enrollment and the actual facts alone. All right, let's move on. Let's go to resilience, which is the next slide. Resilience, thinking, planning, and action. Resilience, I'm going to give you this definition. Resilient thinking is a way of understanding how systems adapt and change, how to manage them in the face of uncertainty. Resilience planning is a process for communities to identify threats and hazards and then create plans for adaptation, mitigation, and recovery. Resilience, in so many words, is redundancy, meaning you got to have a backup plan.
That's right.
When Brother Frank Muhammad was a Supreme Captain of the Nation of Islam, when I first became a minister back in 1987, he said, you got to have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. So you got to have backups, brothers and sisters, for what you do.
Come on.
3 forms of resilience. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Engineered resilience. It is the ability of a system to maintain its structure, identity, and function even when a change or cataclysmic event takes place. In other words, the ability to bounce back. Y'all all right?
Got it.
And then there's ecosystem resilience, which is to be able to adapt, transform, and improve, which is to bounce forward. Meaning that your situation, the creative destruction takes place and you figure I've lost everything, but maybe you haven't lost everything if you rely on Allah, because now you'll be better off than you were the first time, because sometimes we're stuck on stupid and we just won't get off it until God moves us off it. Y'all all right? And the last one is evolutionary, meaning that there's no linear outside cause that makes you to make the change. You make the change because it's internal. Comes from, I equate this with revelation. Oftentimes we don't understand why Minister Farrakhan has us doing the things that we're doing, because he moves by revelation. He moves by the word of God. He moves by the inspiration and the power of Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So this evolutionary resilience is really what tells you whether you're going to use engineered or ecosystem resilience. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to move on now. Okay, I'm 7 minutes and counting. There are 5 mission areas when it comes to security. There is prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. You know, and I know that for us, security is prevention, right?
Yes,
you get
sir.
searched before you come in. Master Fard Muhammad already love anticipates need, right?
Come on.
He already set up a system by which while everybody just catching up. We already have a culture among us that we're going to get searched and checked, and we don't have no problem with it. Other people go, I don't want to get checked. Okay, well, all right. But now everybody gets searched. You go in the courthouse, you get searched. Everywhere you go, you get searched. The airport, you get searched. We already got that culture. We don't mind standing in line, check me out, look at my stuff, because I'm going in here because I want to have a peaceful environment, right? All right. So now let's go to the 4 phases of emergency management. All right. This is a short class, but go on and get it. Mitigation. Mitigation is public education. It is hazard and vulnerability assessment and improve infrastructure. Now, you do that, it's more long-term. It's the things you do with government and with groups inside of your community. Preparedness. Now, you know that this storm is coming. You heard, it's out in the Gulf of Mexico. There's a weather-related, you know it's going to be tornadic activity. There might be a flood. There's going to be a drought. There's going to be a brush fire. Whatever, snowstorm is coming. Whatever you live, you're going to have different kind of hazards. You all right?
Yeah.
So preparedness is emergency response plan, right? Training and exercise and sirens that go off that alert you that is getting ready to go down. Response is when you do life safety things. We go in and we save the people and do what we have to do. Incident stabilization and property preservation, evacuation shelters, and mass care. Sometimes you can shelter in place, and sometimes you got to get the heck up out of there. right? Everywhere you go, brothers and sisters, you should have a plan. You should have a plan at home. You should have a plan at work. You should have a plan at school. You should have a plan in your vehicle when you're going from place to place. We all right. Now, sometimes you can shelter in place. Other times you got to have a to-go bag and get the heck up out of there, but you got to have what you need with you to take with you. Y'all all right? All right. All right. Now, and then recovery. Recovery again is sometimes short term, but it goes into the long term and it folds back into is economic recovery, debris management, housing, health, and social services. Now, for us in the Nation of Islam, brothers and sisters, we have to understand that we're only as strong as our weakest link. So for us, we have to have equity in mind. And equity, I'm going to give you a definition. I don't care what the white folks saying about DEI, equity. I don't care what they say. I'm going to give you a definition that I studied for 10 years and put together, synthesize a definition of equity for you in my dissertation. Equity is the outcome of a process that results in the appropriate distribution of benefits and burdens within and across generations. So when it comes to equity, brothers and sisters, if we're going to have resilience, if we're going to have the ability to come back, bounce forward, or do whatever we got to do, this is who we have to look out for. We have to plan for the most vulnerable among us and our people that are going to be watching this. We got to look after those who are impoverished because poor people cannot move. As you saw the sister, they can't move. They don't have money to go and get a hotel. They have money to catch a plane. They don't even have gas for their car. Hell, some of them don't even have a car. So they can't evacuate. They can't do the things that people with means can do. Y'all all right? Yes. So we have to look after the empire. We have to look after the elderly. We have to look after those who are disabled. We have to look after the children. And we have to look at single parent households, whether headed by male or female, because they are vulnerable. All right. Now, why am I putting the emphasis on security and safety? What is the aim of this word? It is to kill the messenger of God. But in Revelation 12, brothers and sisters, remember the messenger of God is styled as the woman. The messenger of God escapes. But the dragon is raw and wants to make war with the remnant of her seed. That's us. Yeah. So that means that he can't get to the minister when he goes to the wheel. They're coming after us. You got it. All right now. So now, why are they after the messenger of God? Because he is exposing them by telling us about the unraveling of a great nation. Is that right? Yes, sir. Listen to the words that are coming out of Mr. Trump's mouth. Listen to the words that are coming out of Mr. Trump's people, where he's talking about how we have to tone down the rhetoric from the left. And then the left is saying that he's a threat to democracy. There is an unraveling of this nation, and we're seeing right now that there may be civil war. And in that civil war, in that anarchy, brothers and sisters, there will be an attempt to come after the messenger of Allah and after those of us who are the remnant of the seed. And so why are they after the messenger of God? Because he told us the war of Armageddon has begun even before we knew it had begun. And then he told us what Allah, the great Mahdi, the great Messiah, and said about the war in the Middle East. And everything he said to us in Savior's Day 2024 is now manifesting, not the New York Times, not the New York Post, not the Chicago Tribune, but even the Israeli newspapers is bearing witness to what our man told us from God and from the Christ. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. He gave us 3 books to read, brothers and sisters. Pay attention, because he said what goes on overseas, we're going to see over here. What did he give us? We charge genocide. This is why I'm putting an emphasis on safety, because they're still trying to figure out what to do with us. Y'all all right? And in this political process, they're really focusing on men. Why black men ain't doing this? Why black men ain't doing that? Here we are on the anniversary of the Million Man March, and they're focusing on black men not going along with a certain political persuasion. We need to be aware of what's going on. We charge genocide. If you listen to the language about immigrants, hell, we all look like Haitians up in here. All right, let me get on. Talking about bad genes. We got bad genes, and they're not Sassoon genes neither. All right. Now, how do they intend to carry it out? Look at the police exchange program that minister talked about, the Palestine laboratory. Everything they're doing to the Palestinians, everything they're doing to them in the West Bank and Gaza and now in Lebanon, what you see and how they control populations that they disagree with, they do it to us because why? They trained our police and they brought their training over here to our people, through the ADL. our open enemy. Right. So know, brothers and sisters, that what they're doing overseas will come to us as food runs out and these calamities increase. As they said, there'll be mass chaos and anarchy. All right. And lastly, brothers and sisters, in terms of the books, the minister gave us the book, Rise and Kill First. Don't get afraid, but look at what happened. They use pages. They use walkie-talkies. In this book, you need to read this book. You need to read these 3 books, brothers and sisters. Even get in an audio book if you have to. Get these books because these people are masters in assassination, masters in flipping people and making snitches and whatnot. This is how they got to their different leaders and know where they were to bomb them because they're snitches all around, brothers and sisters. We have to be aware of their tactics and we have to be very careful where we eat, where we go. We got to change our routines and whatnot because these people are skillful in assassinating people. All right. Now, let's move to safety. Y'all all right? Y'all got it, right? Yes, safety. I got 5 minutes.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
25 seconds.
Safety, brothers and sisters, is regard to emergency management. And again, as I said, my co-panelists will connect the dots. But Minister Farrakhan said in Torchlight for America, all of these catastrophes increase the budget deficit. I don't care what we're being promised by anybody on these major parties. America is broke as hell. All right? All right. So now let's move. $1 billion disasters. Since there's been 391, probably 92 events since 1980, $2.755 trillion worth of disasters. And these disasters now are breaking the insurance companies. I'm moving. Come on to the next one. They're breaking the insurance companies, and some of them are pulling out of certain zip codes that are more vulnerable than others. So you're talking about the banking system could be destroyed through these calamities, the insurance, flood insurance, and housing insurance, property insurance. The magnitude of divine natural phenomenon, as you see, even the solar flares that's coming on is affecting the communication systems and everything in America. Let's go to the infrastructure that's raggedy as hell because they've ignored it all these times, right? So the infrastructure now is overwhelmed, right? And even in Houston, the energy capital of the world, a Cat 1 hurricane knocked us out where people didn't have energy for 2-3 weeks in Houston, Texas. And we're the energy capital of the world. I beg your pardon. Allah is God and Muhammad is his messenger. Come on. All right. And even, brothers and sisters, if you look at how these hurricanes have impacted the hospital system, if we don't know how to triage and take care of ourselves and do first aid to ourselves, brothers and sisters, we may not survive because guess what? The next thing is that some of the first responders can't get to you because you can dial 911 till your finger breaks off. But if the wind is blowing more than 40 miles an hour in our city, the fire department can't come out of their station. So you'll be 911. 911 is a joke when it comes to these kind of things. All right. So lastly, we must depend on Allah and ourselves. And what I want to suggest, and I'm gonna send some suggestions to the Executive Council for their review and their approval. But one of the things I want to suggest openly, brothers and sisters, that you can take away from here is this. This next slide shows us how we put in Houston and in Chicago. We're just suggesting that our security and safety plans, we should organize our units as an overlay by zip code or area so that we can look out for one another. Because if we can't travel back and forth, we have to cluster and look after each other in those respective areas. Who are those who are impoverished? Who are those who are disabled? Where are our elderly? Where's our single parent families? Where are those who have children? And we can look after each other for our own security and our own safety amongst one another. So as I close, brothers and sisters, and I will close, again, I want us to go back and review the speeches of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the unraveling of a great nation, Jesus is key, criterion, the announcement to the world, the swan song, the war of Armageddon has begun. And what does Allah, the great Mahdi and the great Messiah have to say about the war in Armageddon? Complete our reading assignment, brothers and sisters. We charge genocide, the Palestine laboratory, and rise and kill first. And lastly, I have given, and I will turn over to the Executive Council, a kind of a form so that the Supreme Captain's Office of our National Auditing coordinator, director, and also MGT, national MGT student, MGT captain, can look at it, scrub it, get it out to us. So we got a list of questions we need to ask ourselves. We need to put together a stay-at-home kit, a vehicle kit, a to-go kit. We need to do all of that, and we could do that, brothers and sisters, if we get organized. Lastly, I'll say what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to me. He said, brother, what's the difference between a tropical depression, a tropical storm, and a Cat 5 hurricane? It's level of organization. We need to get organized, brothers and sisters, so we can be free. And lastly, I'll tell you, if not, go on Amazon. Here's a book by our sister, Landra Muhammad. She's Weathering the Storm, Disaster Preparedness, How to Survive the Fall of America. And once again, I want you to go back to your supreme wisdom. Look at that and know that there's great science in that will frame our mind and prepare us for the worst is yet to come. Thank you for listening. May Allah bless you as I greet you in peace.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Praise be to Allah. Well prepared, all praise is due to Allah. And we're going to connect that to Sister Vivian Muhammad out of Indianapolis, Indiana. She's going to talk to us about the proper storage for our food, and a very important aspect is purifying our water. Sister Vivian Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ, the Mahdi. And of course, I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the divine warner, mercy. He's the Jesus Messiah in our midst, and in their holy and righteous names, I'd like to greet everyone with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. All right, let's get right down to it. I have 20 minutes, and we are talking about something that is very, very pressing. Brother mentioned as the food runs out. Now, as the food runs out, we have to be in a position where we don't run out of food. We have to know what foods to store. We have to know how much to store, right? And there are multiple ways to properly store and preserve food. So the first thing we want to get into when we talk about disaster preparedness, you can go to the next slide, is that when we are preparing for a disaster, we have to understand that these natural disasters will inevitably lead to famine. Crops get destroyed when there's floods and when there are hurricanes and other natural disasters, when there are fires. So the discussion of food and what we should store in our houses becomes really pressing at this point, okay? It should already be on our minds. You can go to the next slide. And when we're talking about food and water, we need to first understand that we have to have supreme organization.
Yes.
And supreme cleanliness. He mentioned Brother Alim, Student Minister Halim Muhammad mentioned the need to be organized in an urban area, but we also need to be organized just in our homes.
Yes.
If your storage of food is disorganized, if you don't have labels, if you are not rotating your canning items, if they are not dated, if everything is in an unclean environment, you are not properly prepared for a disaster. So the first thing we all need to do is some really basic housekeeping. We need to clean our homes. We need to declutter. And we need to set up very organized methods by which we store our food. And this means perhaps buying shelving, labels. It could mean taking inventory lists or creating inventory lists. All of this is preliminary to us building up our disaster preparedness supplies as it relates to food and water for that matter. You can go to the next slide, please. The other thing is that we must be as physically fit as possible. We have to adhere to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as it pertains to how to eat to live. As we saw with COVID, when you enter into any kind of disaster with a lot of comorbidities, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, you are already compromised, okay? As we enter disasters, we want to make sure that we are rededicating ourselves to How to Eat to Live books 1 and 2 and every single item in those books. So we can't put those aside. They have to be paramount. They are paramount to disaster preparedness. If we are not physically fit, if we are coming into a disaster already compromised as it pertains to our health, then we are already diminishing our ability to survive and to be able to help others to survive, because it's not just about us, right? It's about how we can help someone else. And so we need to have on our mind physical fitness, and that begins the foundation, absolutely, is how to eat to live. Okay, so let's rededicate ourselves to that. I've always said, and I'll say it again, we have the best weathermen and we have had the best weather forecast since 1930.
That's right. Go ahead.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has warned us over and over again, and he literally is just repeating what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us prior to that. And that is that we need to prepare for disasters, that Allah, as a sister friend of mine always says, is bringing it. Allah is going to bring weather phenomenon because America is in the valley of divine judgment. And because of that, and with us being here, we have been warned on how to prepare. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has exhorted us to have at least 3 months worth of food in our homes, at least. So let us all do a personal assessment on whether or not we have that. And if we don't, then we already know what our marching orders are after we leave here. Now, in regards to calculating that, how do you calculate how much food and water? As a rule, as it pertains to water, you need to at least have 1 gallon per person for every day that you plan on being in a need for water. The minister says 3 months. It wouldn't hurt for you to have 6 months, because as brother has already said, you might be also storing food for your neighbor, right? And storing water for those in need that may not be able to get the supplies, or that may not have the room in their home, their apartment, or whatever to properly store all of these things, right? So we have to be thinking about our brothers and sisters. And so you may want to do at least 6 months worth supply, just so you'll have extra for those that might be in need. So again, calculation, Islam is mathematics. That means at least 1 gallon per person in your home for every day. Half of that gallon would be used for just washing. The other half would be used for actual consumption and for cooking. Okay, so that's a rule of thumb. Now, if you're in an actual disaster, there are some other things you can do as it pertains to water. If you haven't stored it, fill up your bathtub, fill up your washer with water so that you will have some. Okay, these are some quick things that you can do if in the event that you're caught off guard. But this whole seminar is so you won't be caught off guard, so that we can prepare. So the other thing is in regards to our food, how much food that we should have. You can go to the next slide. Now, and what kind of foods we should have. So you want at least, as I said, 6 months. Minister said 3 months, but I'm thinking all those people, all those family members that you know are coming over that didn't want to listen. And you're getting food for them too. So I'm saying at least double that, right? What's it going to hurt you to have extra food in your home, right? So prepare by getting extra. You're going to want to start with, and this is just the slide that you see. It's just giving you some rules of thumb. Of course, I've got navy beans, I've got spices, vegetables. You want to have what we call staple goods, or some say shelf stable. Another word is non-perishable that brother mentioned. You got to have that. So we're going to start with our navy beans, right? For obvious reasons, because that is something that will sustain you in more ways than one. The nutrient value in the navy bean, its ability to draw toxins out of the body, particularly radiation, and how nutrient dense and rich they are. We want to have that navy bean in our home. And we'll talk about the methods by which we're going to prepare those navy beans for survival. Spices, these are wants, they're not necessarily needs. However, there are some spices that are extremely medicinal, like garlic, turmeric, just to name a few. So having spices in your home can serve more than just seasoning your food. They are medicinal and can help when we're in health crisis or when someone needs some medicines. Some of the best medicines can be found in some of the herbs and spices that we can keep. So you're going to want to keep a supply of those and things like rice or oats for the children. You might want to do oatmeal, some things like that. So you want to have a good supply, and also fruits and vegetables. Because again, your thought should be, what is the most nutrient dense food that I can keep in my home to help me survive what's coming? Do not get Cheerios and Fruit Loops. And that's not, we're not doing ramen noodles, and I say that because, people will do that thinking, hey, I've got some food, it's inexpensive, let me stock up on these. We want things that are nutrient dense. We want food that will actually provide nourishment to our body in the midst of some of probably the most trying times that we'll have. We can go to the slide on water. Let's talk water. One of the reasons I added the water component to this presentation, because originally when I spoke with Sister Aisha, I was actually only thinking of food. But after Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, especially after Hurricane Helene, I said, I better speak a little bit on water, because as we saw, those of you who've been watching in North Carolina, their water system was debilitated, completely wiped out, and people were in need of food and water. I read through many of the comments of people that were sending out SOSs to the news, and they were saying the same two things: food and water. Lack of communication as well, not being able to get money and other things, but food and water were prevalent. So as brother mentioned, there are several scenarios we might find ourselves in. We might be in a, if I stay, if I go, or maybe I stay until I have to go. There are all kinds of scenarios that can go on when we're talking natural disasters. As he mentioned, you must plan for all of them. So your plan A, if I stay, plan. Plan B, if I have to go, plan. Plan C, if I can stay for a little while, but then I have to go. Or I'm en route to one place and I get trapped, like the people that were on the highway, for instance, when they were told we need to evacuate, but everybody was evacuating at the same time. Again, we have the best weathermen on the planet. We got the God and his Christ and his Messiah. So we already know that we should be watching the weather, because that was a marching order that we were given. So you don't want to wait until the government says evacuate. You want to be moving in that direction long before everybody else. Because why? Well, gasoline and clogged highways. Okay, two reasons. If you start doing what everybody else is doing at the same time, you're going to run into this type of issue. You don't want to do that. You want to be prepared. That's why we're here. So there are many water purification methods out there. Just to touch on a few, there are portable, and I mean tons of them, portable water purification mechanisms that you can take with you. They started out using those for camping, but they are now part of disaster preparedness.
That's right.
There are many types out there. You can go online, you can Google, you can go on Amazon. Amazon carries many versions ranging from $20 to $100, but they're portable and you can take them with you. Why is that important? Well, say you come across a stream. Well, you can't just drink that water, right? But with these portable water purification systems like this, praise be to Allah.
Go bag.
Love show and tell. So this is one sample, and these are on Amazon. You can order these. You can purify the water, and most of these systems will get rid of about 99% of the bacteria, the viruses, and other microplastics that might be in the water. These will help get rid of that. So that takes water from a state of being undrinkable to being something you can actually swallow. Okay. So, and they even show you charts of really dark water and how the water's been cleaned. So those are very important. Others are for your home. There are whole house water purification systems.
Wow.
I'm not talking about water softeners. I'm talking about water purification systems.
Right.
We have one. They are not too costly, but they're very much worth it. They hook into your actual water system at your home at its source, so that every time you turn on the shower or the wash the dishes, you're getting cleaned water. There are also waters that you can hook up. Water purification systems that can be hooked up under your sink, on your shower. Berkey has a lot of good water purification systems, but right now there's tons. But how do you store that water? Okay, you're gonna need to think about everything from the water dispensers, which I think I have a picture of up there. You can go online and get them. The water dispensers, we've got the bottom loaded ones, so you get those 5-gallon barrels. And then we just had purchased a carrier, basically, where you can stack all of these 5-gallon bottles of water. You keep those filled. And then say you have 11 bottles, well, that's 55 gallons of water that you have all the time. And then you just bottom load them into your dispenser. That will allow you to have some water on hand at all times. There are other, they've got 30-gallon stackables for those where room is an issue. And I know having a place to store things is an issue. So getting stackable water containers, 30 gallons, is maybe one option. You can fit them in your kitchen, on side of a wall, if you are limited space, or you can partner with other believers, and this is very important, to plan your natural disaster plans collectively. So I don't have the room, you've got the room. Hey, let's store everything at your house and let's make a plan that if something goes down, this is where we will convene. Okay. If space is an issue, that is one of the things. She's rolling her eyes up in the like, it has to be people you can trust. Um, yes, you don't want to store your water at somebody's house that says, sorry, the end's closed when you come over. It has to be, we're assuming that we are believers, okay? And then there are 55-gallon barrels that you can store in your home. We have several, so you fill them up with water and you can put in water purification tablets. I have a picture of one, Aqua Tabs. They will clean your water for about 5 years. So 5 years, yes. So because stagnant water will draw parasites and bacteria and other things, these tabs, when you drop them in your water, will clean it and keep it clean for that amount of time. And they'll give you the measurements of if you've got 55 gallons, how many tabs, all of that is on the little bottle. So they're relatively inexpensive as well. You can go to the next slide. So let's get into what to store. We already know. I've already mentioned it. How to eat to live. Nutrient dense food. Do not store a bunch of junk, because when you're in a situation that might lead to, or if we are in famine, which we have been promised, so we need to keep our minds aware of the fact that this is not, this is real. It's going to happen. As brother mentioned, every single word that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has told us is unfolding. Everything he told us in this past Savior's Day is we literally walking into it every day. And so if he warned us that famine, like has never been seen before in the world, will come, then it will come. So we have to ask ourselves, are we prepared for that? How do we get prepared? Again, store nutrient dense food in your home. And that means rely on everything that you see and read in How to Eat to Live books 1 and 2. That's what you want to store. How do you store it? The minister has told us can until you can't can anymore. Okay, so canning is one of the best ways to store food. Shelf life, 2 to 5 years. Granted, that's not perfect or great, but the truth of the matter is, if canned properly, there really is no shelf life for expiration date. Thank you. For canned food, if it's properly canned. It really is. And you can go on the USDA's website and they will tell you that. FDA will tell you that as well. So the truth of the matter is there isn't a shelf life. Glass is one of the best non-toxic containers. The only, I guess you could say drawback, and I hate to even use that word, is that if you are on the move and you need to take your canned goods, they can be a little precarious to carry, which is why you can go on Amazon and many other places and get all kinds of containers in which to store your canned goods that are portable. There are portable, stackable containers. They're the plastic kind that will protect it, keep the bottles from, yes, clapping together and cracking. There are means by which you can transport your canned foods if you must, and that might be a reality. So you need to, as you're canning, also consider the need to transport it and protect it. And these are certain means that are out there. There are also boxes as well. I like the idea of the ones that have a handle because it's going to be easier to move it around. Okay, and I got 1 minute. Oh gosh. Okay, let me hurry up through this. There's freezing and vacuum sealing. Freezing and vacuum sealing is actually good if you're going to freeze because it helps draw out the oxygen, etc. And last but not least, certainly not least, there's some new preservation methods on the market. And I say new not because the technology is new, but the introduction of it to everyday people like you and me is relatively new, and that's freeze drying and dehydrating. Dehydrators can range from $30 to thousands of dollars. It depends on which kind you want and how much dehydrating you want to do. It's drawing moisture out of the food. It's going to give you about 2 to 5 year shelf life, and the benefit of that is you're going to keep about 65 80% of your nutrients. That's awesome because we again are thinking of how to preserve and they're easy to transport because they're light. Okay. And then the other method is freeze drying. I have a freeze dryer. They're a little expensive, but I partnered with cousins and friends who were on the same page as me and were able to afford them. Freeze drying is 25-year shelf life. The MREs that the soldiers use are meals ready to eat. Those are freeze dried. Okay, so freeze drying, you can have one in your kitchen now. I suggest you look into it. Harvest Right is a brand that I have, but there are many others out there now. And last but not least, proper way to store your beans. I'm going to let Sister Alba, when she comes up, kind of deal with that. I'm going to throw that in her lap since I'm pretty much out of time. But you're going to want to use either Mylar bags or you're going to want to use silicone bags, 5-gallon bags, and 5-gallon buckets. One 5-gallon bucket will hold about 25 pounds of beans. Okay. So with that said, let's all get into Joseph mode and get this food stored. I'm going to leave you as I came with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Praise be to Allah. Now, perhaps you want to hire Sister Vivian to come to your home to do an assessment of what you have, and then she can talk to you about that. I've just volunteered her for that. So at this time, for those of us who are at the National Training Conference, we had an emergency situation where a brother went into cardiac arrest, and one of those that Allah worked through to help to restore this brother back to life is right here with us today, and he is Brother Rudolph Muhammad. Let us receive Brother Rudolph.
Beginning all things in the name of the one God, Allah, thanking him for appearing to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. We thank him for raising the risen Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is alive and well. Yeah. Alive and well, for those who don't know. How can a dead God do anything for live people? And we further thank them for that one that's in our midst today, the inestimable gift to the world.
Come on.
He is the reminder to us of what we've been taught. He is the example to us of what reasonable sacrifice looks like. And he is the most perfect one in terms of grace and mercy and showing of love to one another. We're talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there are 3 great names. I greet you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Before I get started, I want to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for this opportunity. And of course, the council. I want to thank them for thinking that I am worthy to appear before you and to say something to help you and help us.
Yes,
and most of all, I would like to thank my wife,
yes,
for being my supporter,
Yes,
for
yes.
being my help, for straightening me out when I go too far to the left, and just for loving me. Thank you,
Allahu
Sister.
Akbar.
And I'm going to stand up. Medical. Let's talk about medical. When you have a medical issues, you're already in a crisis. So now when there's an external crisis that goes on top of your medical condition, now it becomes a disaster. Disasters are relative. What's a disaster for you may not be a disaster for me. If I walk out of the house without my asthma pump and my EpiPen, it's a disaster for me because that could cause my life just that quickly. So if you take medications, what you should do, you should have the name of the medication written down, the milligrams that you use, and how often a day you take it. You should have that written down. And you can, okay, that's very good. You should also have written down any other supplements or vitamins that you take along with those medications. Because as a responder comes to you or you go to a hospital, you need to tell the medical professionals that, because all of that plays a part in your overall picture of health and what they're planning to do for you. Never go to a hospital alone, family, because you're not focusing on what the medical professionals are saying to you. You're already in a crisis. You can't remember what they're saying. Take someone with you that can hear what's being said, that can transcribe it, or at least can translate it back after that medical professional has left the room. You need to learn CPR. Listen to my words. I didn't say go get certified. I said you need to learn CPR. Learn it for infants, for children, and for adults. 3 different techniques for 3 different categories of people. And it does work if Allah wants it to work. But how do you know what Allah wants? How do you know that you won't be chosen to be one that Allah comes to you to work through, in, and on someone? Okay? We should all learn that. And again, take this for those that live in your homes. Take this for that, make it very personal. We're not talking about the people out in the street. We're talking about the people that live with you every day. Okay? And once you learn it, teach it to someone else. First aid, blood. We only have about 6 liters of blood in our body. You need all 6 of them to function optimally. An infant, if they lose as much as a can of pop, it can put them in shock. A child, if they lose as much as a 2-liter pop, it can put them into shock. And for adults, if they lose 2 of those 2-liter pops, it can put you into shock. And so shock is a condition which just means inadequate perfusion of your body tissues. But remember this, oxygen and nutrients travel in the blood. If the blood's not circulating, then oxygen and nutrients aren't circulating. Cells are going to begin to die. Once brain cells die, they're never again regenerated. So let's go back to CPR. Why do we do CPR? To keep brain cells alive until help arrives. How do we do CPR? Chest compressions and ventilation. Now, ventilations are optional. They really are. Why? Because at any given time when a person dies, there's still 5% oxygen trapped in this container. How do we know that? Mathematics. There's 21% oxygen in room air. We inhale 21%. We exhale 16% CO2 or carbon dioxide. Well, what's 16 minus 21? Come on, what's 16 minus 21?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, right. So it's 5% oxygen still trapped in the case. It just needs to be circulated. This is why hands-only CPR can work. What that means is you don't have to do mouth-to-mouth on the person that you don't like or that you don't want to or that you don't know. I'm not telling you to do that. Just push on the chest and circulate that oxygen-rich blood. Defibrillators. Defibrillators work in the sense that they will give an electrical charge to the heart muscle. Defibrillators do not take the place of chest compressions. Okay, so it's not either or, it's both together. Okay, but there's no substitute. Start chest compressions as soon as possible. Okay, as soon as possible. Stop looking around to see who's going to do it. You be the one to do it. Take a CPR class. Brother, we can go with the next slide. This is just a list that came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to us, and these are just some things. Over 60 years ago, he gave this to us. Next slide. All right. We can get this to anyone that needs to get it. These are some of the things that you need to have in your home. A thermometer. Why do you need a thermometer? You want to be able to gauge internal core temperature. 98.6 is about the average body temperature, giving a few points up, few points down. Okay, what are we concerned about? Body temperature is 99 to 103. Okay, we need to bring those fevers down. For those, it's recommended that you would use ibuprofen. Motrin is the brand name, but you know it by that. So Motrin or ibuprofen. Why? It has a 6 to 8 hour span in the body. Once the temperature is above 104, you should use what you call Tylenol or acetaminophen. Why? It acts quickly in the body and helps to reduce that fever. Fevers of 104 or higher are very, very critical because remember, our brain sits in water. If you want a pot roast, you put that big thing of beef in a pot, turn the fire on, and it raises the temperature of the water, which cooks the pot roast, right? Well, if your body temperature is raising, your brain is in that pot, in that water that's getting hot. So we need to get that temperature down as soon as possible. So we need some type of thermometer. Next slide. I'm not advocating any particular brand, okay, or brand name. I'm going with what the people know. Bare aspirin. Everybody knows what bare aspirin is.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, what most people don't know. Bare aspirin is not a blood thinner. What bare aspirin does is it prevents blood from clotting. And so that's what you're looking for. You want that blood to be free to keep moving around. The other side to that, though, is if you're taking an aspirin a day and you get cut, it's going to be harder to stop that bleeding. But we cross that bridge when we get to it. All right? You need to have this on hand. Okay? It's a fever reducer. And again, it helps to anticoagulate or stop the clotting of blood. Next slide. Alcohol. All right? At least 70% alcohol. Why? Alcohol can be used as a disinfectant. It can be used as an antiseptic. If a person has a really high fever, you can use the alcohol to help bring it down. Well, alcohol, rubbing it on the forehead, on the neck. All right? These are you can clean with it, but alcohol is an essential thing to have in the house. Again, at least 70%. Okay, next. Tape. Waterproof tape, any kind of tape. Why? Because when you talk about bandaging things, you have to hold that bandage down with something. So tape is always good to use. Go to the next one. All right, gauze, roller gauze. This is something to absorb the bleeding and also something to go over an open wound in order to prevent germs from going into it. Now, it should be sterile if you're putting it directly on a wound, okay? It should be sterile, okay? But I'm going to say this. When you have the choice between, well, I don't have something sterile, I don't go for clean, as long as it's clean. Cover that wound, and we worry about the infection later. There's tons of antibiotics out here. Next. Okay, these are, again, just Band-Aids because the children get cuts all the time. You want to keep those wounds clean and covered. Next. Epsom salt. Epsom salt is a great thing to have in the home. I don't know how many of you remember this, but I remember my mother would give this, or my grandmother would give this to me at certain times in the year in some water and tell me to drink it.
Yeah, they did.
Okay? Nasty. But it kept us cleaned out and it kept us from missing days in school.
Yeah.
So it can be used for that, but more so if you put it in the bathtub and sit in it and soak in it, Epsom salt can regenerate or rejuvenate your muscles. It can help get the electrolytes, the minerals, back into the cells of your body that have been depleted through dehydration, so that those cells can then function 100% again to do whatever that cell is designed to do. Go ahead. Baking soda. Okay, this one right here. There are so many uses for baking soda. I'm just going to cover a few of them. One, if you got bad breath, you can use baking soda. It helps with that.
Wow.
Two, if you have bad body odor, you can use baking soda for that. Okay? And listen, we real, right? Okay, all right. All right. Three, you can use baking soda to wash off your fruits before you eat them. Okay? You can use baking soda to absorb odors in your refrigerator, in different rooms, put it in your shoes, because we're talking about disasters, right? Some foot odors can be disastrous if you stuck inside. Next. Silverdine cream. This is for burns. And this right here now, you used to be able to walk into a pharmacy and purchase this right off the shelf. They've taken it off the shelves now, and it's by prescription only. So if you know your doctor, and you should know your doctor that way, you should be in that type of relationship with your primary care provider. If not, you need to find another one. But talk to your doctor, tell them, give you a prescription to get you a thing of Silverdine and keep it in the house. It's for burns. Okay, it's for burns. You were cooking, splashed on you, got the all up your arm, put the Silverdine on. If you don't have it, get you an aloe plant, slice it in half, and rub the aloe plant on. Okay? These are just things that you can do and are going to have to do, because as Brother Minister said, 911 in a disaster is a joke. 911, I work for the 911 system, and I'm telling you, all resources are going to ground zero. That's wherever the emergency is. You on the outskirts, nobody's even paying attention to your call.
Right.
So don't even bother calling 911. Deal with it where it is, or get that person to the nearest 911 receiving facility and take a book with you, because you're going to be there a while. Next. Everybody recognize these, right? Hot water bottles. Make sure you have those in the house. That's great for soothing aches. It's good for cramps. It's good, you're going to fill it up with the hot water, and you're going to put it wherever you have. If it's really cold in your apartment and you don't have proper heat, fill up your hot water bottle and tuck it in there, and make sure you put the top on tight. That's all. Next. Ice cap. The ice cap, it's a bag. It looks like a bonnet upside down, and it has a top that you can screw on. You put ice in it, and it can be for hangovers. It could be for, did I say that? Yeah. It could be for toothaches. It could be for muscle sprains. It could be for anything. It's just a way to collect ice and keep it so that you can use it without putting it directly on your skin. Sulfur powder. Sulfur powder, if you add this with some white petroleum, all right, you can make a salve that can be used to extract toxins or poisons out of wounds sometimes. Now, I'm not telling you to go ahead, rush right out and do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you the things you need to have in your home, because maybe you don't know how to use it, but there may be someone else that if they see it, they know how to use it. You just get the stuff. Stop trying to figure this thing out and trying to rationalize it. This is an irrational world we're living in. Just follow instructions from the God. Said, in that day, our righteousness will save us. Well, let's practice righteousness by following instructions.
Right.
Next. Spirit of peppermint. Spirit of peppermint is going to be used for quite a few things. And I'll just go to this one. Just changing the smell in an environment can help to relax people. It can help to change your mindset. It can help to calm people down. Okay, so next. Milk of magnesia. Okay, all right. Does everybody in here know what this is?
Yes.
I don't see anybody in here that was born like yesterday that doesn't know what this means. I'm not talking about your ages now, but yeah, it's self-explanatory. We need to have that. Some kaopectate.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. We need to have those in the home. Next. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, for some of you who don't understand, what about Pepto-Bismol? Right. Yeah, heartburn, diarrhea. You know the commercial, right? Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Next. A functional first aid kit. And I say it that way because there are many of them on the market. What you get is what you can afford. The idea, though, is whatever you get, be able to use it. Don't wait until it's a disaster to open it up and then don't know what to do with the stuff or how to use it. No, go through it regularly and make sure that you know how to use everything in there. If you don't know how to use it, reach out to someone in your local mosque that's wearing one of these. I'm taking a pause for the cause. I am representing the Ministry of Health and Human Services of the Nation of Islam. Okay? And we have a Ministry of Health and Human Services, which is comprised of just about every medical professional that there is out there, and they're in a local mosque near you. Dial us up, call us, speak to us. Come see us after a mosque meeting. We generally have a table set up. Sit down with us. Let us check your blood pressure. Let's talk a little, get to know each other so that when disaster strikes, we're already familiar and you'll be comfortable with me so that you can tell me the truth as to what's going on with you. Look, we get mad at us because we go to the doctor and we know better off 30 days later. But you lied to the doctor. You never told the doctor exactly what was wrong with you, but then you expected him to give you a prescription to combat the lie that you told him.
Uh-oh. 1 minute.
Next.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Just so you know, 1 minute? Oh, 1 minute. Okay. These are just tools that you may need. You may need to chop something or out somewhere or get you some wood to burn. Next. All right, a shovel or a spade, because you have to bury your waste in a disaster. You don't want it to collect up where you live at. Next. Okay. Clean. Antiseptic, disinfectant, antibiotic. But we need to learn to clean, sanitize, and disinfect. 3 totally different processes done 3 totally different ways, but for the overall health of us and anyone with us. Next. All right, these are miscellaneous things. Like I said, get in touch with me. I'm at Mosque number 1. You know my wife, get in touch with her. I can come to wherever you are. We can do it via Zoom. We can talk on the phone. I don't really like to email, but if I have to, we will. Or like I said, we can come to you and do the presentation where you can get all of this information for you, your family, and your community. I'm going to stop with that. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to me. Again, thank you for inviting me. Assalamu alaikum.
Praise be to Allah. What a wealth of information we have in our ranks. All praise is due to Allah. Allah gave us everything we need. So we're going to go from Brother Rudolph with all that energy. Sister Alva did not want to go after him.
No, he did not.
And he spoke to us the other day about the use of tourniquets, because sometimes we're told don't use them, don't use them. He said you have to make a decision between life and limb. You're going to keep your life, you might have to get rid of a limb.
That's right.
All right. With that being said, Sister Alva has assisted us here in Chicago with respect to disaster preparedness for a number of years.
That's right.
And she's my go-to person. So at this time, we want to receive Sister Alva Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah who came to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. I also bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the living and exalted Christ. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine reminder. He is a warner to us all. And I personally don't know that I would be here today if it were not for him, because I would be lost in my foolishness somewhere.
Yes.
And it is in their names that I greet you all in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I would like to begin by thanking the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for this opportunity and thanking the Executive Council for this opportunity, because it is always a blessing to be able to serve. And I would like to thank my husband, who is here somewhere, Brother Eric, because I could not do this without your love and support.
That's right.
So there he is. So having said that, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation or a Canva presentation. I want to talk and tell stories for the time that I have, and hopefully get us to a point where we can move out on what we have been given. The subject that I have in mind is called overprepared or underprepared. What is the balance? So I wanted to start by saying, after there's an event somewhere, a hurricane, an earthquake, a forest fire, I get believers coming to me in person by text message, and they'll say, Sister Alva, did you see on the news that so-and-so happened in some other place that is not Chicago where we are? And I'll say, I surely did see it. Did you see it? Yes, I did. Oh, praise be to Allah. Well, do you have your emergency supplies ready? Oh, no, Sister Alva, I ain't got no supplies yet, but I thought about you.
Right.
And that's what we say. And I don't want to beat up on anyone. I don't want to make anyone feel bad. I pray that I can be encouraging to us to move forward in getting that balance between being over-prepared. Some of us are over-prepared mentally. We know a lot about the teachings. We know a lot about the things that we should have, but we are slow to move out on getting them because we think, well, what little bit I can buy, if this is all I buy, this is not going to be enough. This ain't going to save me from no hurricane. You don't know that.
Right.
So don't hamstring yourself and be underprepared because you can't get everything today. Something is better than nothing.
That's right.
Any day of the week.
That's right.
So please start. I hear people say all the time, and I see it on social media. The minister said, watch the weather. The minister said, watch the weather. The minister told us to watch the weather. Y'all watching the weather? The minister said, watch the weather. But what do we do with that? Why did the minister tell us to watch the weather? Did he say it because he just wanted to hear the sound of his own voice? I don't think so. Did he say it because he wanted us to use it as a good luck charm to keep the tornado from tearing the roof off of our house?
Right.
I don't think so. Did the minister say it because he wanted us to feel self-righteous and smug because it's happening to those people over there and it's not happening to me in my house? I don't think so. Minister Farrakhan does not speak idle words.
Right.
So when he tells us to watch the weather, he is telling us that for a reason. He is telling us that so we can prepare ourselves to survive, because you see it on the Weather Channel today, and you see it on CNN, and you see it on Al Jazeera, but it will be on your local news tomorrow. You could be the person tomorrow whose roof was destroyed in a storm. You could be the person tomorrow. I could be the person tomorrow who gets hit by an earthquake, and suddenly there's no running water, there's no electricity, you don't have a place to stay warm. It could be any of us. So when the minister tells us to watch the weather, he is telling us to watch the weather with the mindset of saving ourselves, saving our families, and saving our people. So don't be so over-prepared mentally and spiritually that you are underprepared with the physical things that you need to survive.
Right. That's right.
Find a balance. And if your balance starts with one item, If your balance starts with 1 jar of navy beans because that's all you could can correctly because you're still learning, then hold on to that one thing that you have and then build on it so you can gain that balance. We have supplies. And I want to show you all something because I'm here to tell stories. I have here, I'm going to grab, if we can. Thank you, ma'am. I have here a 20-pound bag of navy beans, right? And we are blessed to be able to buy these from our staple goods project. Right. Now, here's a story, real story. For years, I had a 50-pound bag of navy beans that I kept in a suitcase with wheels on it because I thought that if something happened, I could just drag that suitcase of navy beans around with me and I would be okay. And I was teaching disaster preparedness, okay? And I thought that 50-pound bag of navy beans on wheels was the greatest thing ever.
Right, right.
But I saw a video lately. I follow a couple on YouTube. They're called Homestead Heart. And I was going to show their video clips, but they don't want their clips to be taken out of context. So I decided to respect their wishes. But one of the things that the sister said was they're in Georgia and they got hit by Hurricane Helene. And she released a video lately and she had all these dry beans. She had a 5-gallon bucket of dry beans. And she said, they did nothing for us because we did not have the water and fuel to cook those beans in an emergency.
That's right.
She said, you've got the beans. And I had, like I said, I had beans on wheels and thought I was doing something. But if you have to rinse the beans and then you have to soak the beans and then you have to cook the beans, but you live in a place where when the electricity goes out, your water goes out.
Right.
Then what do? You can't do anything with those dry beans except throw them up in the air and have yourself a confetti party with the dry beans because you can't cook them. So canning, the minister has told us to can until you can't. And if you don't know how to can, then contact a sister in your mosque who does. Sister Colette has a YouTube channel. Sister Colette on YouTube and Sister Lenore here in Chicago. If there is a sister in your city that knows how to can, reach out to her to learn how to can.
All right, brothers and sisters, that's part 1. Yeah, hey man, y'all better be ready for part 2 tomorrow and bring your family and friends. So if you have anything that stood out to you during this on time presentation, go ahead and press the number 1 at this time. Go ahead and press the number 1 at this time if you have anything that you would like to share. I'll start off with what she just recently said, about them navy beans. I never thought about it like that. I got all them navy beans, but shoot, if you ain't got no water and nothing to cook them with, what you gonna do with it? Because I too have I used to got them big old 50-pound bags. I got a bunch of them downstairs, from the staple goods. And I encourage you all, when those staple goods come out, get you some. I mean, they very affordable, very, very, very affordable. And they 50-pound bags. I mean, them things done lasted years, man. I got years. But if you don't have water to cook them, what good are they? That's a great point and a good reminder. For those who's wondering, the power call is every Monday through Friday, God willing, unless something changes, at 8 a.m. Central Time. 8 a.m. Central Time. If you would like to come join us on the Zoom, www.thepowercall.net. Create your free profile and you will see the Zoom link and you will see the calendar when we going live, things of that nature. All right, so let's go to Brother Daniel. What stood out to you?
All praises due to Allah. I'll start with the last point and just work back. What Sister said about making it happen, just studying it, looking at it, and not doing nothing about it. It's not going to work. I got to the point where I got tired of doing that. So I hope she don't mind. I called my first cousin, Sister Yashika, who's in the power call. And she came by the house and taught me how to can. She was such a good teacher. I learned in one session how to do it. I went from 0 to about 200 jars from that session. And every now and then, or more now and then, I open them jars and I eat. But a couple of weeks ago, I canned another 18, so I'm gonna start recanning and re-up it and eating the old stock. You know, but it's good to know that they tell you it's a shelf life, but it's good to know that as long as the seal isn't broken, you might have to open up them cans and eat them in disaster and they ain't, messed up. So it's real. You gotta do it. So that does say that FOI, if you single, ain't no excuse. You might have to get in there with your wife, do some double canning. It's a good bonding time. But the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, can. He didn't say if you have an MGT. No, we got to make things happen. This is real. So I thank my sister Yashika X for helping her cousin out with that. Also, when the brother opened up talking about our righteousness to sustain us, that really stood out to me because we can plan for everything. But if we're not connected to the best of planners who can steer that storm around our house, who can guide that water, keep us from getting flooded in, those things that we need from the God in this hierarchy, then we're in trouble. So this says to me that I might not want to be doing so much wrongdoing. I might want to get myself together to save my life because if I don't act in a way where I deserve that type of protection, then my behavior put me in trouble. So I'm really looking at that rightness, and also the rightness meaning obey Allah and His apostle, do what we're being asked to do. Don't be spooky. I'm good. I ain't did this. I ain't did that, but I ain't got no things in the house either. Oh, Allah help me because I've been good and I ain't got nothing. Well, I mean, good for nothing. So as it was said, there's a delicate balance. Following the instruction, begin to do the things you're supposed to do, and strive to be right so that we can get the best protection we can get and have the things we need in the time of disaster. That's all for now, fam.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sister Tornisa? Sister Tornisa?
Asa Rudolph, from New York. Okay. Hey, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Rudolph, from New York. Okay. Can you
Sister
hear me now?
Tornisa, you got to turn us off of whatever device you're listening to us on because it's going to be delayed.
Oh, I'm on the TV. I had it on YouTube. Am I delayed now?
You good.
Okay, thank you. I had on two devices. I had my TV on. Disaster preparedness, Brother Rudolph will come and teach you how to do disaster preparedness. And then you can go around your city and teach as well. I had a disaster preparedness class that he taught me, and he teaches CPR. He also teaches children how to do CPR. That was something that I've never seen before, but teaching children how to do CPR, which was amazing. And Brother Forrest, we was in New York and he taught us, and we had a class and a seminar that was teaching that. And so, and how to, the to-go bag, which I used to carry in my car, and which was amazing because, you have to have your Social Security, you have to have the medications for the elders and stuff like that. That was one of the things that took key. Me having children, I didn't know about KO Pep Day and milk of magnesia because I wasn't using it. But then when something came down the pike, I needed it. So those are the different things that, I thought about that happened to me. I didn't have it. So I had to wind up getting it. But, when those trials happened and you don't have these different things, I didn't have medication in my house because I wasn't using it. But then when the fever came with the baby, I had to sit in the bath ice water with her to bring down her fever because her fever was 103. And so we had to do an ice bath. But if I would have had the Tylenol, that wouldn't have happened. That was another thing. Sister Landra from New York taught us to dehydrate navy beans and then make it into a flour. So that was another thing that I learned from them. because I never knew about, making navy bean flour. So I'm learning these different things. Canning, we did a big canning class and having rotate the stuff. And so now I'm teaching my daughter, about canning and how to go about it. Because what if we are going to come to these situations, but not having these things in place is crucial, because I've been there when I needed something and I just did not have it. And so when he says something is better than nothing, I agree, because I know the situation, like I said, Tylenols, having a fever, Pepto-Bismol. I didn't have those different things. And when I needed it, it was not there. So I would definitely encourage other people to get these different things. And Brother Rudolph will come to your city. He will teach you and guide you. And is a whole team that comes through so that we can get that information. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing. Sister Jamie?
Yes, sir. My apologies. Assalamu alaikum, family. Man, this is just a blessing, as a reminder and a mercy, what time and day we're in. And as y'all can see, this was definitely done recently because they dealt with Hurricane Helene. And right around during Hurricane Helene, I was actually coming into Georgia because I was moving in the day it hit. And all praise due to Allah, I was not affected directly by the hurricane, but I seen the effect of the hurricane. And when I tell you guys, it was horrid just to see how many people was affected without gas, without water, without lights. And I mean, most of Savannah didn't even get back up until 2 to 3 weeks after the hurricane hit. And then another hurricane ended up coming up on the eve of that. So it is very important, as they say, to do what we got to do. And another one thing that I didn't hear anyone really mention is our earth provides us with everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So learning your herbs that grow right in your backyard, with dandelion flowers helps out a lot. Then you have yarrow, you have wild garlic that grows in Indiana really well. You have natural maple, syrup, oak trees, certain trees that grows certain vegetation. So understanding what even grows around you, the natural medicines that grows around you, is very important. I've taken a holistic course, and you can go to what is the name of that course? Corsica. Corsica will, if you're just trying to get just something just for self, just to understand, okay, I want to know more about herbs. I want to know more about medicinal medicine. There's this one white lady who I got majority of her books, her home remedies and herbs and things like that. She tells you how to, even if you're in an apartment, how you can grow natural medicinal medicines right in your own home, so that if you do say you don't have enough medicine, you don't have enough insulin and things of that nature. Well, if you're not able to get to those things, well, then there is a natural insulin producing herb that you can get where you won't even feel the effects of. First, let me say this: how to eat to live is important. Praise be to Allah. But if we are not doing eat to live, and I mean, reality of it is a family gonna force you to do eat to live. But the reality of it is you're gonna have your medicine on hand if you have those natural herbs to be able to subdue you until your body get used to really, truly, honestly, producing or less producing of the sugars or whatever the case is. Because reality of it is, if you in a famine, your body, you're gonna learn how to eat to live real quick. I guarantee you that. However, hopefully we don't get to those extremes, but all praises due to Allah. Just learning the medicinals that's around you and getting those things in order. Like what's one thing I keep in my home? I keep herbs. I am a herb fanatic. And the reason why I do that, because I don't like to run to a corner store every time someone in my house gets sick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you not hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, praise be to Allah. I don't like to run to the medicine store every time someone in my home gets sick. I'm the type of person, okay, what you got? Okay, what's your symptoms? And then I go look into my many books that I got. And then more than likely I'll get a herb and I'll give my children some colloidal silver, which helps to boost your immunity. I'll give them some garlic, which is my number one go-to herb, some turmeric, some ginger, and whatever else. And I guarantee you within a day or two, everybody's fine. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I love my NyQuil because there's just certain things in this world that you can't get rid of, especially that made man stuff. So unfortunately, once in the twice or two, I will go give me some NyQuil, especially when COVID hit. I was doped up on NyQuil because it was not a natural made situation. But I'm not saying, keep NyQuil in your to-go bag. But also that was the other thing I wanted to say, have a to-go bag. And with a to-go bag, especially those that got to get put out their home because of floods or fires or anything like that, your dehydrated products is very good for you because unfortunately, I mean, it's going to be very heavy if you're trying to do can. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying turn away from what the minister said. Always do what the minister said because there's going to be some time we're going to have to be staying in place. But if you can't stay in place and you got to be on the go, like the sister said, that navy bean flour, which I've made it myself, awesome. And when I tell you, you do some dehydrated vegetables or some dehydrated fruits and you add it with that navy bean gravy, I'm telling you, it's like still eat navy bean, but you don't have to use as much water or you don't have to use as much you don't have to use the soaking and all that good stuff. You don't have to do all that because all that was pre-done before you even made the flour. So all praises due to Allah that you don't have to worry about cooking as much because you just use a little bit of water and then you can make a nice little navy bean gravy and then add your dehydrated and then boom, you got a whole soup. But that's all I wanted to say. May Allah continue to bless everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing. Sister Gwen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. I just wanted to add 3 things to what they were saying. You're going to need a hand can opener as well to go in your emergency kit to pop the top of your navy bean soup that you can. You can use an ace wrap as well if you don't have the tape, the waterproof tape on hand. You can use an ace wrap to kind of hold it down and put some pressure on it to try to stop the bleeding as well. Also, if you have those gallons of water, they can be used as a flotation device in case of flood. If you put 2 of them together and put a bungee cord on them and put them around your arm, you might get out of the rush of water. That's all I want to say. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Hey, we sure need that can, man. Let me tell y'all something. Man, I had some dressing and tried to open up that cranberry sauce with one of them electric ones, and I didn't know what to do. I cut that thing open with some scissors, man. I got me one of them big old scissors and had to cut that. That was so hard to cut that open with some scissors. Woo, get y'all a can opener. Get y'all a can opener. Boy, then I got me a knife when I cut it open with the scissors and I'm just sawing like I'm sawing some wood, man. Get y'all a can opener today. Sure wish I knew where it was. Let's go to Sister. Is that Sorrel? Am I saying that right? Is it Sorrel? Kyrell? Which one? How you say it?
Hi, everyone. Yes, it's Sorrel.
Sorrel. There we go.
Hi, family. I'm new to the group. Thank you again, Brother Ben, for accepting me. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Alhamdulillah. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sorrel. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm actually in orientation right now. I'm so close, like I said, to receiving my X, and I'm ready for it. I attend Mos 12 in Philadelphia, and what I heard today, everything was like great jewels for us all to put in our box, to put in our bag. Everything that they were speaking about, I'm kind of from the old school. So everything from the magnesia, from the tab, everything, we were brought up like that to use that, and when I think about it, they say we are Muslims by nature. Like my ancestors and stuff like that, when they raised us, this is how we were raised, to always be prepared, to always have more than what you need. to always make sure that you have oil in your lamp. So I just wanted to say that to the family that be ready because we are here now. We are here. I watched the lesson from the minister, and he, like you said, he prophesied this. It was an old lesson. Like I'm not that old, but it was. I was a little girl when he did this, and he spoke of something about World War III. So let's process it. Let's plan. Let's prepare. Let's proceed. Let's protect, and let's proclaim. And that's basically all that I want to just say, and to encourage everyone on the call that, like, yes, let's get ready because it is here, and it's been here, you know, and it's only going to get better. So let's all just do what we need to do, and hopefully, some good sisters around. And I may have to store some water somewhere. On this side of town. But I thank y'all for giving me the platform and to allow me to speak and introduce myself. And I look forward to being on more calls.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. It's definitely going to get worse. Oh, it's definitely going to get worse over time. One thing I would like to share is that, as I think about this, it's important, man, for us to strive to really come together in unity. I mean, ain't nobody gonna be wanting to share no bean soup with somebody who always got an attitude and slandering and just doing wrong. So it's important for us to come together as well, because during times of need, as I think it was a final call paper, I think that Brother Halim was talking about, depend on Allah and ourselves. All this stuff that we hear on social media about no new friends, I have circle small and I'm one deep. That one deep don't feel good when you got to call on somebody now. Yeah, you can be as strong as an ox. Yeah, you can lift. You're strong. Oh, but when you got to cook something, when you need something that you ain't got, all that thinking you can just do everything by yourself goes out the door. I don't care how much you can bench press. That tornado still throw you around that house, throw you around that room. That earthquake will still move you. You can't lift up that. Yeah. So we gotta learn to follow when it says friendships of all walks of life. Stop all that, you want to be to yourself and I don't like nobody and all that crap there. When it go down, you're gonna need you some friends, man. I don't care what social media say. You're gonna need you some friends. And I think you need more than 2-3 friends. What if them 2-3 friends die? I get so sick and tired of hearing all you need is 2 friends in your whole lifetime. What about when they die? Who I'm going to be able to depend on? Who I'm going to be able to vent to? Who I'm going to be able to, lean on their shoulder? Man, get you as many friends as you can. Now, I'm not saying go out there and get you a bunch of fake friends. I ain't saying, because I know somebody think it's hard to find. Okay, well, it's hard to do a bunch of stuff. But be kind, man. Add value to people's life, man. That's how you build friendships. Be happy, smile more. All that mugging you're doing. Show your teeth sometime. We know you got a gap. That's life. You can't control your gap. That's just how your teeth grew in. Stop all that frowning and you don't want to open your mouth up, man. Because, man, when it go down, when you need a few dollars, you need somebody to cash app you something, PayPal you something, Zelle you something, Apple Pay you something to get you something to eat. Get you some little gas money. But when you're so one deep and then life hits you, you ain't got nobody you can call on. Now you're sitting back there crying, calling on Allah, when Allah was working through the human beings trying to be your friend that you was turning your nose up to. When they say, Assalamu alaikum, and you, Walaikum salam. Brother, say, Walaikum salam. Give them some energy, man. So stop all that. I'm telling y'all, man, I'm telling you, when it go down, you're going to wish you had some friends you can depend on. You're going to wish you had some people you can call on. But you want to be one deep because it sounds good for a social media quote. Man, we better get it together. That thing say friendships of all walks of life. You never know what somebody know, man. You have some value that they don't have, and then they gonna have some value that you don't have, and then y'all can barter. Okay, you can help me out with this. Well, look, man, I sure appreciate you doing that for me. Man, I can do this for you. So, man, create these friendships, man. Stop all that being mean and to yourself all the time. Good God Almighty, boy. All right, let's go to let me see who got it. Sister Randisha.
Yes, sir. So, assalamu alaikum, family. This was a very wonderful message as they were talking about disaster preparedness, right? Because the minister has stated to us over and over and over again as students that we would go through certain things, right? And as they mocked our man, and some of us have mocked him as well, right? As they did Noah and the ark. They mocked him, but they prepared. We mocked him and did nothing. So, as he was talking about, I'm sorry, I just had to run upstairs, but as he was talking about the supreme wisdom lessons, right? In the beginning, it says the instructions given to the laborers by our Savior W.D. Farad Muhammad says the student must study his assignment. and studying, right? If we're all students, the minister says watch the weather, but he don't mean just watch the weather and do nothing. If he's given us all the tools and he's given us all the blueprints, that he wants us to do something with that, right? As Brother Ben said, we're going to, and as everyone said, as a collective, right? We're going to need each other. This is why covering down is so important. And if we actually, right, because in the nation it says no slack talking, no gossiping, no da 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 da. If we really, really implemented those things and checked those who do those things, guess what? We wouldn't have such a hard time becoming sisters and brothers as we should be. We know that some of us is, you know, some of us have some like, you know, ill demeanors or some of us, but we have to learn how to work on those sisters, right? I remember as a sister that is coming into our mosque, and I worked on her for years. Like it wasn't 1 year, it wasn't 2 years, it's probably been about 13 years. But the process is never ending. And the minister also wanted us to know that we have to take plenty, right? So when the storms just came, Halim and all of those, and I was helping, station mobile crisis and these things so that people can get insulin needles and all of these things. I actually ended up in the hospital because it was so draining to me. I've never experienced nothing like that, but me always willing and eager to help. The mother on the road with her children who runs out of gas, the mother who's crying because this happened, or, and I was talking to a sister yesterday and she told me that everything is in my assignment, but what Allah did assign for me, I have to make sure that I complete those assignments or those assignments is incomplete. So we have to be careful. So as I was actually reading, as I was actually getting my daily read on of the final call, coming disasters, are you prepared? Are we prepared? And it doesn't mean, right, if we have a heaven that we're creating and heaven is hell is our mindsets, are we in heaven with how we prepare or are we in hell with how we prepare? But it just stated, I just wanted to read these short few paragraphs from the final call. It says, Coming Disasters, Are You Prepared by James G. Muhammad. And this was March 4th, 2024. The purpose of the disaster preparedness workshop during Savior's Day 2021 was demonstrated in a short video just before the workshop began. There is no place on this earth that has received as much calamity from weather as much as the United States of America. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan declared in the video as images of floods, snow, fires, and scenes of natural disasters flash across the screen. God's intention is the total destruction of America, the minister warned. The question is, are you prepared? To that end, morning and afternoon virtual workshops on the topic, February 26th, were held to inform and instruct attendees. Workshop coordinator Society Isha Muhammad announced areas to be discussed in the morning session, including situational awareness, cybersecurity, how to respond in a medical emergency, securing the home, among other areas. So it says among the 10
tips on situational awareness are knowing your general orders, being mindful of people around you, identifying entry and exit points of buildings, and staying vigilant in public, not wearing earplugs that block your sounds. This is also just staying off your phone sometimes. And then it says several tips he offered. Don't use the same password for multiple accounts, right? Avoid using, and these are just things that as disaster preparedness that they gave to us as a whole. But avoid using public Wi-Fi spots, enable two-factor authentication. Never click I agree on an internet pop-up. And then the last one was every member of the family must prepare a go bag for use during an emergency where the family must leave the house, explain Christina Muhammad of Dallas. The bag must be sturdy, easy to carry, and contain extra car and house keys, photos of your family for identification purposes, a flashlight, non perishable food items, water, and other survival items. So, as we continue to aboard Noah's Ark, right, and as the minister has stated, when he sat down, right, and he said that he had this vision, like, and he went to the well, right, as Ezekiel did in the Bible. And, you know, when he went to them and he said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him about the chief joints of staff, right? And all these things. The minister has got us this far, and he's continuously remind us that he have got us this far. Some of us have, you know, got a little scratch or got a little cut, but he have got us this far with nothing. So as long as we continue to listen to the man, but also follow the man and implement and go out and do these things, practical application, we will be successful. So, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Oh, Brother Daniel?
Yes, sir. I'll be brief, brother. This was a powerful piece because the presenters that presented, just as sister said, it's a reminder. Because I can remember when we had a storm in Gary, Indiana, and a tree knocked out my power, and the electric company wasn't in a rush to get there because there was hundreds of thousands of people without power. And I realized I don't have a can opener. I don't have batteries for a flashlight. I mean, I'm running around grabbing the basic stuff and studying the teachings every day. This thing is real. You know, we can get caught up in one side and ignore the other, but the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan told us to prepare for survival, even more so than trying to build businesses and things. Survival is the most important because if you ain't here, there's nothing to build. So I had to. It was a checkup for me because I realized I was talking more than I was doing. So you know, I went and got a can opener. Now this is making me go. I need to check up on my batteries, make sure all those basic things is working. So if my power is off for one day, I'm not in line with everybody else looking crazy. You know, so I appreciate what was shared this morning because it really just puts me in the mindset to get busy and start doing, like Sister Alva said, a little by little. And then once you look up, you have more things to survive 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and eventually 3 to 6 months. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sister Toranisa.
Just like brother said, I moved from one area to another area, and where I live at is upstate. And the next month or 2 months later, I had no electrical current because it rained outside. When I lived closer to the city, all the wires was inside. They changed the wiring. But where I live at now, that's not the case. When it rains, no electrical current. I had to go seek shelter somewhere else. It happened again. I had no clue. Like I said, I didn't know about these different things. So I had to sign up on the internet for the electrical current company, and then they'll send you information. So where I had the, opportunity to leave, the people that was around here didn't. And then I decided, let me go buy some lights. I spent about $100 on lights, batteries, different things, so I can have it. Because when I came up here, it was an emergency. So all the stuff that I had Before I didn't have any more, no battery operated radio, none of that stuff. So when it happened again in the summertime, I was able to stay in my apartment, and because I had lights. But the one time I tried to get in my car, there's no electrical current. I can't listen to the radio. Nothing. I wasn't nothing I could do. I couldn't use my phone. I couldn't charge up my phone. Nothing. And it's dark. You can't drive because you don't know what waters. I live right next to the water. You don't know what wires, trees had came down, so they tell you to go back into your home. So I had to go to the car and charge up my phone. But even with the midst of charging up the phone, I can't use it because there's no electrical current here. I couldn't use the TV, nothing. So that was something. A little girl that I used to do her hair when she was like 5 years old in my salon, her mother sent out a text message about 2 years ago, wherever she was at, no electrical current. She's like 19, 20 years old. I can't send no money either. So because if I don't have no current and I don't have anything, I can't send in information. So if you have to stay in place, what do you have in place? You can't keep opening up your refrigerator back and forth because you're going to lose your food. So, so I have a portable stove now. I have the propane to make food or whatever the case may be. I got to get back into my canning because I got 200 cans here, jars. 100 something my cans jars. But it's not filled. So are we really listening to the teachings, or we just, mouth lipping, and it's real, so again, we can learn how to can salmon. And I got food in my house, but I didn't have no canned food. So when the electric goes and I have to be here with my child, what do you have? And then, like I said, now I got the Tylenol. But at one point, up where I live at, there was no Tylenol here for the baby during COVID. You couldn't get nothing here. I had to go down to the city to bring it back up this way because none of the CVS's, none of the stuff up here had it. Walgreens, no Tylenols for children, no ibuprofen, nothing. So when I was like, wow, I was shocked because I'm not used to that because I used to live in the city, but where I live at now, we didn't have any of that. So I think I just wanted to say that that's important because then you can't give out nothing. You can't send out anything, and we got a list of different things to cover your door. So even when you're cooking food, nobody can bang into your door. Have some wood with nails so you can nail your door and your walls in place because people's going to try to come in your house. Cat litter, you need to bury your fecal, your feces because you can't live with that stuff. You can't smell it. And having charcoal to cover your mouth. Like these are different things that I had before when I was doing disaster preparedness and I was teaching it. But coming up here, because of the situation, I don't have any of that anymore. So now I have to get back on the game and get my stuff back in place because I had nothing. So I just wanted to say thank you. I was just watching something this morning that dealt with I got navy beans. I mean, I got water now, but I had a whole case full of water. In my closet. It was just pure water, cases of water, because I was like, I got to prepare for 3 to 6 months because all I have for my daughter. And I had tissue. And that tissue lasted me during the whole COVID. I wasn't struggling to buy tissue or water. I was good, so I got to get back to that place. But I'm just saying, it is real when you can't find a can opener. And I had to use a knife too. I'm like, well, where's my can opener? Nothing. And I had to use a knife and do the same thing to open up something, so yeah. And then you got to find out about your next door neighbors. The guy that used to be here, he's no longer here, but he would go out and get stuff and bring it back for me and the baby. So I'm just saying that we really got to get in the point of having these different things because you never know who you may need to help out. But I was stuck here with no lights, nothing, no batteries, none of that stuff. And then recheck it. Now I got to go back and check it because I got the lanterns and all that stuff. But now I have to go back and check the batteries, but that was some of the stuff that happened here. So I just want to share that.
Praise be to Allah. Walaikum salam. That made me think, family, we really have to get on our customers, man. Because what we don't want is for something to happen and we're not prepared because we don't have the resources to get what we need to be prepared. Now, if we're doing everything that we're supposed to do and things not flowing in correctly or things not flowing in yet, okay, cool. But don't let it be because we are not executing on what we've been taught or what we already know about the products and the services that we offer to the people so that we can have the funds and the resources to be able to prepare our families. Because at the end of the day, this is beautiful. All the tape and the this and the get this and get this. But we know this is America. That stuff costs money. To be able to drive, to be able to fly, to be able to evacuate, this stuff costs money. So let us, during this time, while it's daylight, while we got electricity, while we have Wi-Fi, to make sure that we're using our time correctly, we're studying and we're executing, man. If we don't know what our offer is, if we don't know what our service is, if we don't have our messaging together, man, get this stuff together. If you know what your offer is, if you got your messaging down, are you reaching out to people daily so that you can impact lives, so that you can get what you need and they can get what they need? And if you don't have the time, do you have the money to put into ads so that you can make sure that your business and your service is staying in front of people daily now? Now, y'all can come learn it in the class. If y'all don't want to learn it from me, go learn it from somebody else, but get it, man. Learn this stuff so that we can be more than prepared, so that when things happen, our families got some water, they got some beans, they got this, they got this. We don't want to say, I know what to get, but damn, I can't afford it. So while we ain't in a state of disaster per se, man, let us be found doing what we're supposed to be doing, or get you a job. If we, hey man, maybe entrepreneurship ain't for everybody. Get you a good job. If you need another one, maybe get you another one. But if you're gonna do this business thing, man, put the work in. Don't keep letting days go by and go by and go by, and you're not executing, and you're not finding leads, you're not talking to people, you're not having conversations with people, you scared. Listen, if you scared and shy, do a comparison of how scared you're gonna be when a tornado come and it's a disaster and you have nothing in your home. Compare with that scared, and that'll cause you to move. You should be way more afraid and scared to not have what we need for our families during a disaster than me calling somebody on the phone, shooting a text message, introducing my offer to somebody. You should be way more afraid of our livelihood than somebody saying, no, I'm not interested. What's the worst they can say? So I just put that on my mind, man. If you've been procrastinating, it's a technology, it's something you don't know how to learn. Get you a coach. If you got a coach, speak up. When you on the class, say something. What do you need exactly? Let us fix it. Let them fix it. Get it over with so that you don't have to keep week after week after week and it's not done. Say something. Your family is dependent on it, man. So I just want to remind y'all of that, man. As you either get you a job or something, or if you got you a business, man, do what you need to do. Okay, let's go to the next prayer. Let's go to Sister Diablo.
Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessing. Well, this was a very informative session for me, and especially with the takeaway feedback as well. One of the things that stuck out to me was what Brother Rudolph said, is don't go to the hospital by yourself. And I'm phenomenal in doing that, going by myself, and which I need to work on that. And another thing is I was reminded of getting back into canning because it's been a while since I did that. So I appreciate that. And that's all I have to say. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sister Shalon.
Okay. Yes, sir, Brother Ben. Thank you so much for this one here. There are two things that stuck out to me. One, as Sister Diablo mentioned, with what Brother Rudolph said about going to the hospital by yourself. And Sister Diabra, thank you for bringing that up again. That's so very key and so very important, because I remember going to the hospital by myself, and there's something that was done to me because I was by myself. And I know now, had I not been alone, there was no way on earth what happened would have happened, because there would have been someone there with me to question what it was that the doctors were looking to do. So that there is so very key. And the next thing I want to mention, which is so, so very important, I remember when we were in our MGT class and learning about canning, one very, very, very important something that was taught to us and drilled into us was be very, very careful about divulging what it is that you have in your homes. Don't go out there on especially on social media, completely telling people what you have. Because you sharing what you have, don't you know that when things go down, somebody's going to remember, oh, this person has this person has that. And those people are going to come to your door. As Tornisa reminded us about boarding up and putting plywood up to your windows and doors and things. Don't be so quick to talk about how much of anything that you have. Keep that stuff to yourself, because it's not important to go share. It's this to brag about it or say, I have this, I have that. Be careful. That's not the wisest thing to do. And I just wanted to point that out, because that was drilled into us in our classes while we were being taught canning. But that's all I wanted to share. Keep it to yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, family. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out this power call. Man, make sure y'all bring your family and your friends on tomorrow. As y'all can see, this is very important, vital to our families, our people, our friends. And we don't want them to say, oh, man, you held out on me, man. You had this knowledge and you didn't share it with me. So, man, share it. We're going to be on for part 2 tomorrow, 8 a.m. Central Time. And I thank everybody who has something to share. I thank everybody for your feedback. And you guys have a blacktastic day. Assalamu alaikum.
Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.